Hello everyone. We haven't done one of these Q&A in ages. The last one is over a year ago now, so I figured why not sit down and talk about a few things that have been going on recently. We'll also give you the chance to send in new questions. We're a year later down the line, most of the ones that I had stored are not really relevant anymore, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I might use them in the next Q&A, which hopefully shouldn't be a year later. So what's been going on recently? Well, I just finished a little holiday in which we did the PreachCon thing, which was absolutely amazing again. The first time that I went there, I was a secret guest, so I had to stay somewhat hidden. But this time, I could just walk around and hang out with everybody, which was a lot more fun. Because of technical difficulties, we were unable to live stream the event, but if you're curious about the party, I'll link a highlight video in the description. In short, there were plenty of beers, there was a lot of hugging going on, and just an awesome general good time. When I got home again, I tried to get back into the work rhythm, but I really felt like doing nothing at all for a bit. So I played some games. I think I've played pretty much all the Kingdom Hearts. I've played some Fire Emblem, some Shadows of Mordor, some Tomb Raider. So many good games to play, oh my god. I hung out with friends of course, and I took some time off, and now I'm more than ready to get back into it. Last week, we finally uploaded the Lost Order Hall campaign, which means that I finally caught up with all the things that Legion had to offer, and now it's mainly waiting for the next patch and the end of the story. Before the expansion came out, I had the plan in mind of covering every bit of lore that the expansion had to offer, and normally that wouldn't be a huge problem, right? I did the same with Mr. Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, but I didn't realize that Blizzard decided to dump a whole bunch of stuff into the game, a lot of time-consuming things. There was the matter of leveling up 12 characters, then you had the Order Halls, the Artifact questlines, thinking that I'm almost caught up, and then we got the new 12 followers with 7.2 and the Artifact upgrades. It's been quite overwhelming and really time-consuming, but also a lot of fun to do. Looking back, it would have probably been better to pick and choose the most juicy bits to talk about, rather than try to do it all. But hey, it's done now, and those that don't have the time to play other characters, they can look up what happens, and hopefully the videos will be useful in the future expansion, so that people can look back and see what went down. Some of you have also asked me what I think of Legion as an expansion. I thought quite a bit about it, and despite the Legionfall campaign, which was pretty damn crap, I'd say that Legion is one of my favorite expansions, if not my top favorite one, but that's too soon to tell since it's not quite finished yet. It's not without problems and fuck-ups of course, but overall it's been a mind-blowing experience what they've been able to put out. I just focus on the story and it's been very hard to keep up with all of it. Imagine covering every little bit that the game has to offer, like all the mechanics and future stuff and patches and PTRs and all that. Yeah, it's been quite a chore, but it's also been a lot of fun. The leveling was quite enjoyable, even on so many characters, with each zone having its own distinct feeling and theme to it. Not to mention that being able to pick where you want to level first, it was quite nice. It gave a little bit of freedom. The Order Hall and the campaigns, they were also a lot of fun to do. Sadly, not all classes were equal, but they can't be all the best, of course. The mission board, despite some calling for the end of days when it first showed up during the beta time, it worked out quite nicely as an extra side thing, rather than the main content, as it was during Warlords. I think the mission board itself was never really a problem, even during that expansion, just that there wasn't much else to do besides the mission board, which Legion thankfully fixed. There were also some smaller extra things to do, like I remember grouping up a fishing and Dalaran for the new mounts, and the way that they've used the fishing artifact, it actually improved the profession. Now don't get me wrong, it's still not a fantastic thing to do, but it is quite nice being able to transform into a fissional. I'm quite happy to have it in my bags, and I would love to see a similar artifact for archaeology in the future. Another smaller update, which I really appreciate, is the Brawlers Guild. This time, not just the numbers tuned and the bosses mixed around, this time we actually got whole new fights, which again was a lot of fun to do, and I hope that we'll get more of that in the future. It's the little side things, besides the raiding and PvPing, that make the game for me, the filthy casual that I am, and Legion, it just offered a whole lot of side things to do. I still have no idea how the community was able to get together and figure out the secret treasure hunt questlines for the mounts that they added to the game, or even some of the hidden artifact skins. They had a nice questline attached to it. Those minor touches, they just add to the overall experience for me. I've even stepped into the pet battle dungeon, despite pet battling not really being my thing, and, well, it was fun enough for the first time around, but if I was a pet battle fan, I'm sure it would be absolutely amazing. The expansion also offers one of the best features ever added to the game, in my opinion anyways, which is Mythic Plus, a somewhat challenging content with high rewards that can be done in a much smaller group and on a much smaller timescale. At first, I never even bothered with the Mythic Plus system, but once they made it a requirement for the Illidan questline, I figured why not, let's make a group with the stream and just go for it. It was actually a ton of fun to do. I remember going through the revamped Karazhan the first day it was released, and we just wiped for like 2 hours straight trying to get through the dungeon. The feeling of it being so massive, not to mention that Mythic Plus, it keeps the old dungeons somewhat relevant. I think it's a really awesome system, but I do wonder if I would think the same without the kind of people on stream. I have tried the group finder on my own a few times, and there were changing results, right? Sometimes you're stuck with never being accepted, while at other times you get a dream team and the run is extremely smooth. So I am aware of being in a special position with most of the time that we have people on stream that are willing to join these runs. So yeah, those side things, they really add to the game for me, and of course the main events like endgame raiding and the campaigns. At max level we got the Samaramon campaign, which I found really cool, especially where you can now compare it to the Legionfall campaign and see that one just outshines the other greatly, with a nice payoff within the Nighthold. Voice acting, it brings the story more to life. Sometimes it works out really well, and at other times, well, it sounds like this.
Where are you, Tyrande? I need you!
I have heard the feedback from people that never cared about the storyline, that the voice acting, it did get them more invested and curious as to what's going on. And of course the cinematics, they are once again of great quality. That's one department at Blizzard that just never fails to improve and outdo themselves each and every expansion. The Ysera one still has people in tears, the latest one with Anduin and Charlemagne on the Broken Shore, Greymane versus Sylvanas despite the story not going anywhere. I can't wait to see the ones that are planned for 7.3, I can't wait to see them play out. Now, as most of you probably know, I am very much casual, and the rating that I've done in Legion, it has not been of any high level, so I can't give a proper opinion about the endgame, but from my experience, the raids that I have witnessed and have experienced, they were actually a lot of fun to do. There were fun mechanics to deal with, there was good scenery. The only one that was a little bit disappointing, to me anyways, that was the Emerald Nightmare. Just from the novel, I expected them to do a lot more with it. The creative freedom when talking about the nightmares becoming a reality, it's nearly limitless, right? And what we got was a foggy white room, and I feel like they could have done a lot more with the concepts. Sitting here, trying to list all the things that I've added to the game, I'm trying to remember if I don't forget anything. It just shows that they've added a whole lot to the game, but like I said, Legion isn't perfect. The two things that stand out for me as learning points for the next one, that would be first of all the artifact system. On paper, the idea of having a progression system, something that you can always work towards, it's a really good idea, right? But in practice, it turned out to be almost too much. If there is a way to improve your character, some will do everything in their power to obtain that. Muscles must have haunted people in the nightmares, and again, this is from what I've been told, right? But apparently some guilds, they put up insane requirements for people, insane grinds, which they simply couldn't keep up with, and they burned out with World of Warcraft. Yet you do have to wonder if that requirement that they put up, if that was really a thing for everyone, or just for the very small percentage that's going to be in that top list of raiders, those that want to take those bosses down first. Again, my casual experience, it had no problem with keeping up with my main character, but I did feel that it restricted playing your alts or even your aspects. Some of the catch-up mechanics that they added later down the line, it did make it a lot easier, but I feel that those changes, they should have been in there from the start. For example, a system in which you can exchange your order hall resources to send over earned artifact power to your alts. I think that would have made a lot easier and also interesting to actually play on those different characters. I have heard the argument that we become too spoiled and that alts were never meant to be as strong as our main character. I can agree with it up to a certain point, yet in an expansion where a lot of the content is class specific, it doesn't seem like the best idea in the world to make it more difficult to actually play those alts. That said, the system as it is right now, it kind of works in my opinion. Artifact power is a nice reward, a nice motivation to actually go out and keep doing things in the game. A system that I personally wouldn't mind see flow over into the next expansion. Then the second major thing that really needs a change in my opinion, that would be the randomness. Random drop chance, it's not a bad thing on its own. It would be a very quick and boring game if you could just calculate precisely when and where are you going to be down gearing up. But Legion, it's just taken at randomness and it tossed it everywhere. Random chance at recipes for your professions. Random chance at extra artifact power or follower gear. Random chance of getting a mount in your reputation box. Random chance of getting epically, massively Titanforged gear. Random chance at freaking legendaries. Randomness, it can be motivating to keep going, but it needs to be in moderation. When so much becomes connected to randomness, then that motivation, it just flies out the window. Not to mention that it's simply not fun. It's not fun to try your hardest to keep up with your raid team, only to be screwed over by random chance and see the wrong legendary drop. I personally never found it fun to go into LFR, kill something and see a legendary pop up, or even from a Blingtron box. Again, an idea that sounds good on paper. The more that you play the game, the more that you'll be rewarded. But in practice, I don't think it worked out. From my experience, the legendaries didn't have much of an impact on my gameplay, and for those that it did matter, like the high percentage that are going for those races and are trying to keep up, they found themselves praying to the gods of RNG in the hopes of getting the item that they needed. Not to mention that legendary is now no longer legendary, but then again, that also happened with the epics, so maybe that's just progression. Now in the future, if they're going to add more legendaries again, I'd much rather see it connected to a questline. The one with Caligos, for example, that could have been a great one. I'd rather see time invested and actual some effort, rather than a random drop chance. Those would be my two major things that need some adjustments. There's also the Legion Fall campaign, with the quest being time-gated. Something that wasn't very big to begin with, they cut up in little pieces, and that just ruined the experience. Yet at the same time, the patch overall, it did also add the follower questlines, the artifact questlines with the Mage Tower, the Tomb of Sagaras raid as well, and I personally freaking loved the Mage Tower challenge, so despite somewhat of a shitty campaign, the patch itself, it still offered a fair bit of fun. Then, story-wise, the main thing that I'm interested in for the game, I'm actually a bit conflicted and very curious what you think about it, because we all experience the story differently. For me, Legion definitely had some awesome story moments, like Varian's sacrifice on a broken shore for example, which led into Anduin stepping up and picking up the blade, getting ready for a journey of his own, building up that character to step into something that's fallen. Alternate Gul'dan was established very nicely as its own character within the audio drama. Sylvanas vs Greymane was really cool to see it play out, especially with the history and what's on the line right now. The way that Ysera was sent off into the stars, and again the entire Suramar campaign, learning of a whole new race, which we then help liberate their city.
An illusion? What are you hiding?
There have definitely been some great moments in Legion. Azuna had me laughing all throughout and wishing for more stories written like that. Yet at the same time, I do sometimes miss that payoff for a story that's built up. Greymane versus Sylvanas, for example, a lot of speculation as to what Sylvanas was doing, what kind of deal did she make with Helya, how is this conflict between the Worgen and the Forsaken, this conflict between the Alliance and the Horde going to play out, and we really didn't get any story. All we have are the world quests with the towers that really don't add much. Go claim this tower, it will help greatly in our conflict. A conflict that doesn't really exist. Gul'dan, like I said, was greatly established as its own character, but he didn't really do much in the overall storyline. And then the poster child for the expansion, the return of Illidan Stormrage. What has he done? For months and months, we build up to the moment where the Demon Hunter would make his return, and when he finally does, we first have to wait for a whole new patch to even get some dialogue with him, and when we do, it's either during a world quest where he tells us how much the Legion sucks, or he's joking around with my Yef. This is freaking Illidan that's come back into the world. Shouldn't we at least see some acknowledgement, some dialogue with Malfurion and Tyrande? And that's what I really miss in the story sometimes. There's quite a lot of build-up, but then it doesn't really have an impact as it should have. This could just be me though. As always, this is just me spewing out my opinion. So by all means, let me know how you've experienced Legion. I'm very curious to see how others view the game and the story. As you might have noticed, I haven't really mentioned PvP, but that's because I don't do PvP, so I really have no opinion on the subject. Now to wrap up this video, I want to talk a bit about what's going on with the channel and what I've got planned for the future. Those unaware, YouTube is a bit shit at the moment with new algorithms, with advertisers dropping out and slowly coming back. Some channels even get completely demonetized. There are scary times going on, but that's what you get when you're working with YouTube. I'll be here as long as there are people that enjoy watching the videos and as long as I can pay the bills, because at the end of the day, I really do enjoy making these videos. With the order halls done, it's pretty much waiting for patch 7.3, and we're going to cover the story that goes down there once it's actually live, while I'm also going to keep up with the character stories, like the story of Alun that we done recently, or the story of Aphis or Hammett, you know, those character spotlights or those areas or subjects that we can talk about. And I also have a new project that I have in mind that's going to be for the Friday, but I don't want to spoil that one just yet. My promise for the streams has always been at least once a week, but I'm going to do my best to stream a little bit more often because it's simply a ton of fun to do. And besides that, we'll see where the road is going to take us. For now, let me just say thank you so much for sticking with me, everybody, and making all my dreams come true. I wouldn't be here where I am today if it wasn't for you. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Right, like I said, if you have any questions for future Q&As, by all means, leave them in the comments down below and let me know what you think of Legion. I'm very curious to find out. That will do for today, so thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, guys, see ya!